Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Voice for Good. I'm Elliot K, the co-founder of Speak Express, and now I can actually officially say that I'm a two-time Amazon bestseller with my latest book, Speak, Influence, Sell. So woohoo to me. And today on this podcast, Voice for Good, I have a bit of a legend. I always have legends. I always call them legends. Do you know why? Because whoever uses their voice for good is a legend. And if they come on my podcast, they're a legend. So if you want to come on my podcast, A, you better be using your voice for good, and B, you better be a legend. So I have Adam with us today, and Adam is a teacher of meditation. And like I say, every week on this podcast, if you want to know more about Adam, read the bio. So today's season is all about the talk that made you. Adam, first of all, welcome to Voice for Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm amazing. Thank you very much, Elliot. It's lovely to be talking to you.
Brilliant. And you're all the way the other side of the world from me, where it's dark and it looks like it's a bit cold. You're all the way in Australia. Is that right?
Yes, we have winter, so it's all upside down and cold here at the moment. Well, I say cold. It's more like British spring, I suppose you could
And
say.
that's cold,
So
is it?
that's cold for Australia,
Oh
yeah.
my golly gosh. I remember when I spent a lot of time in LA, and like the moment the temperature would drop slightly, they'd have like their beanies on and their scarves and their jackets. I'm like, oh my God, it's like 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. What is wrong with you guys? It's not cold. They're like, oh my God, it's totally freezing. I'm like, insane. Come to the UK. Well, you'll be happy to know that it's quite wintry today in the UK. It's quite rainy. Still humid, but rainy. So also, I guess we're kind of on a par. Maybe it's not raining in Australia. I don't know. So tell me, Adam, tell me a little bit in the sense. So this season's all about the talk that made you. So tell us about the talk that made you, that really launched you, kind of things changed from there on. Tell us all about that.
Yes, the talk that really made me was a personal one-to-one chat that I had at 7 in the morning
Mm-hmm.
on the way to work. I had this little habit around about 2010 where I would go to work. I was
Mm-hmm.
working around Southwark Bridge at the time in central London, and I would stop in a cafe in the morning, and it'd be about 6:37 in the morning. Have a black cup of coffee, sit, and I would actually just start my day with a cup of coffee, and I would just have that peaceful moment to get into the day. Now, on the outside, my life was going very, very well. I was earning a lot of money. I was doing quite well with my life. But internally, lots of things had gone wrong. I'd gone through a divorce. My mother had passed away. I'd seen her die over a 2-year
Mm-hmm.
period with cancer, and I was quite aimless at that time. So I would go there in the mornings before work, and I would sit there and I'd basically boost my strength to go into work. Um, but it was during this time that I actually met an incredibly engaging man.
Was it me?
Um, It wasn't you. No,
Oh,
no, I met you later. I met
oh
you later.
gosh.
After him, Elliot, I met loads of engaging people, loads of engaging
What?
men and women. And I stay in contact with them. I make a point of staying in contact with them. Yeah, I met an incredibly engaging man, and he would come into the cafe, and he'd say hello to the people behind the desk, very, very, in a very vibrant manner, very confident manner, and he always stood out. So I noticed that he always stood out. But because I was in such a low mood, I always hoped he wouldn't come over and speak to me. And sure enough, he would come over and speak to me all the time. And I found myself, slowly but surely over each morning getting to like this man. But it was one conversation we had, which was a particularly challenging conversation for me at the time, that really motivated me to go into a completely different direction in life. At the time, I didn't realize the impact it would have, but it did have a major impact in my life.
Okay.
So at the time, I was in the corporate world.
Yep.
This guy had a great interest in consciousness-based work, yoga, meditation, and things like that.
So it was
Now,
a
at that,
hippie.
no, he was
I'm
he
only
was
joking.
he was he was a Nigerian businessman,
Oh, wow.
incredibly vibrant man. I never stayed in contact with him, but he was very much into self-improvement, self-empowerment, and things like that. Now, at the time, I had previously done various forms of meditation and yoga and things like that, but I was kind of done with it. at
Okay.
that point. I was kind of done with it. I'd been
You're
hit
too
by life,
angry with the world at this point.
very angry with the world.
Gotcha.
It was always someone else's fault. It was never my fault. It was that I was in that sort of level of thinking. So I was kind of done with that sort of thing, and I was more interested in psychology, and I was studying to become a counselor and doing all that kind of stuff on the side of my corporate work. But he kind of challenged me,
Okay.
and he did it in a very, very empathic way, in a
Mm-hmm.
very confident way as well. I loved the way he spoke. He was a very, very confident man. And he actually spoke to me about various forms of different types of meditation that I hadn't tried. And he spoke about them in a way which is both enticing, but at the same time, quite unbelievable.
Okay.
But because he was enticing and very confident in the way he delivered the message, I found myself getting very, very curious about what he was talking about. So he kind of opened my mind back to a road which I'd actually shut
Okay.
for a short period of time. So when you meet someone like that that can affect you in such a strong way and challenge you in such a strong way, it's quite an experience.
So you see it in a cafe, 6:30. Along walks this very charismatic guy, talks to you about
Mm.
meditation, really triggers something in your brain, gets you thinking. What happened after that?
What happened after that was during that conversation, he held his own because I was very combative with him, and I sort of
Yeah.
try to cut him down, try to prove him wrong, and all of that kind of stuff. But it stayed with me, and I inquired about the forms of meditation which he was speaking about, and it was nestling in the back of my mind. Um, and then after that, I would meet him in the cafe again. Actually, a week later, I didn't see him for like a week, and I asked him more questions around this because I was getting more interested about it, and I found myself becoming more excited about things again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I explored this route, and I went down this path of exploring this meditation in greater depth and details. And I researched it. I researched it scientifically, and I sort of sought out people that tried it and done it, and I spoke to them about their experiences with this particular brand of meditation.
You can say
And
the
I was
brand, by the way. You don't have to protect it.
Oh, okay, okay.
You
Well,
can
this
say the brand.
this particular brand is called Transcendental Meditation.
Okay.
And when I first heard about it, it sounded very fantastical, a bit too unrealistic. Um, but yeah, so I explored it. I researched it scientifically, and I spoke to people that had done it, and they spoke about it in wonderful terms,
Okay.
wondrous terms.
So give us a little, for I don't know it. Some of our listeners might know it. Like in a brief summary, tell us about this fantastical yoga. Let's do this.
Well, this is yoga for the mind. So if you think of yoga, perhaps in the West, we think more in terms of physical stretches and physical postures.
So I just corrected Adam there. He had a little bit of a soft mic, but we fixed that now. So let's carry on. Go on, Mike. Mike? No,
Okay.
you're not Mike. You're Adam. We fixed the mic, and you're Adam. Go, Adam.
Yeah, the mic is my friend now. Yes, yes. So when you think of yoga, for example, you think of physical postures often in the West. You know, the physical stretching and so on, to become more supple, but also to get the stresses out of the body. This is more of a yoga for the mind, and the fantastical element to it is you're using an ancient Sanskrit mantra.
Okay.
So just a word, a sound that actually gets you to this deep state of inner bliss and calm. Now, when he told me about this, I just couldn't believe it was true. I
So
couldn't believe it was true.
is it similar to what a lot of the Shaolin monks do, like the Is it that?
It's it is similar. It is
Okay.
similar. There's
Gotcha.
there's a similarity definitely, but at the time I just couldn't accept it, Elliot. I just couldn't accept it. I couldn't believe that something like a mantra or a word, a spoken word, could have that level of effect. Even when I was looking at the research of it, even when I was looking at the science of it and speaking to people, I was still struggling with that. But it was enticing enough to take me further into it.
Can I
And
ask what the
after
word
doing it,
is?
oh, there's several mantras.
Okay,
There are
got you.
several mantras. Yeah, there's a number of different mantras you can use. I didn't
Okay,
know that at the time. I didn't know that at the time,
got you.
but it was in learning how to do this, and seeing the experience and how it changed me. Um, that's when I was completely sold. And all of this it started from a short conversation early in the morning from a
Yeah.
guy who, as charismatic as he was, if I was being completely honest, I didn't want to speak to him. I just wanted to be left alone. He
So
came over to
is
me.
it a bit like what we resist persists, right? Because you're putting out there, stay away from me, stay away. It's like, oh, let me talk to that guy who I completely know doesn't want to be spoken to. He needs what I have, right? And so he came up, tells you about this meditation, off you go, and then you research it, and then I take it you explore it, and now you do it.
I do it. I teach it. I teach it all around the world. It's the most incredible form of meditation available, in my humble opinion. But yes, there was something about him, focusing in on me.
Mm,
There was it was something quite what's the word I'm looking for? It was almost like a kind of guardian angel type thing. For some reason he pointed me out. For some reason he, like you say, he sort of just became somehow attracted to speaking to me, and
yeah.
he came into my field and started speaking to me about it. It's the effect this man had on my life is huge, absolutely huge.
And you don't even know who
Um,
he is, do you?
Not really, no. I stopped speaking to him. Maybe
Mm.
up to a month later. I just didn't see him again. Didn't see him again.
So he is a little bit like a mythical figure that came in your life, schmangled your brain, and left again, right? So
Yeah,
it's quite
absolutely.
quite interesting. So isn't it funny that we can underestimate where these conversations, where we might use our voice for good? Because obviously,
Mm,
Speaker Express work with business owners and entrepreneurs who want to use their voice for good, and of course grow their business,
mm,
impact industries. And it's interesting because you're the first person I've interviewed so far that the voice for good that occurred and happened in a one-to-one situation. Now we're not limited,
mm,
when we talk about the talk that made you, we're not limiting that to just being on stage or doing virtual events. It is in these
mm,
situations as well. So it could be a TV show, radio show, a talk in a cafe in Southwark,
mm,
by in London. And I think that's fascinating. So he must have really. What do you feel he did when he spoke to you? What do you feel really worked? Because if we're talking about using the voice for good, we're talking about imparting a message, right?
mm,
What did he do that really affected you? Because it's had a profound effect, so much so you've changed your life. Like, and
mm,
this is a. It's not like you're like, I'm going to go to personal development. I'm going to work on my head. Oh, I'm going to find out about meditation. You're sitting there hating the world by the sounds of things, blaming the world. Along comes this charismatic guy
mm.
and changed everything. So, what do you feel from a communication point of view he did really well?
He held space.
Okay.
He was confident in what he was saying,
Okay.
and he was very clear and concise in the message he was delivering. So even though I was being combative in my approach, he never took what I was saying personally.
Okay.
It takes a lot of strength of character to do that, because you can be a trained speaker, for example, and you can deliver a message clearly and very, very well. That's great, but the character of a person can really show through when they speak.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if this particular man was trained in personal speaking, but he certainly had a presence about him. He
So,
certainly. Mhm.
yeah, sorry, carry on, carry on.
He certainly had a presence about him, and he believed in what he was doing, and he completely believed in what he was saying to me, and that made the difference. Because it's interesting how sometimes it's just a personal chat that can change your life. If you
It
think, for
really is.
example, yeah, absolutely. If you think, for example, that person that, if you think of somebody in their darkest days, and all they need is a chat with a friend,
Yeah, yeah,
all they need, just that connection. What that can do for someone is huge.
yeah, absolutely. So it was the confidence, it was belief, it was the conviction, it was the clarity,
Mm,
the concise. Lots of C's going on here, right?
mm,
In terms of in that. But I can confidently stand there and say, "Look, Adam, let's go." I was thinking about blow something up, right? Look, Adam, I really think we should blow something up. I think it's really important in the stage in your life that you're at. Let's go blow something up. You're not going to buy into that, right? So there must have been something that as resistant as you were in his, you know, because in his presence that
mm,
enrolled you.
mm.
Um, and do you feel that was kind of like the heart, that his intention behind it was very pure, like he didn't gain anything. He didn't sign you up for
No,
anything. He didn't give you
no.
a flyer, go, oh, by the way, here's my course, right?
Hmm.
So do you feel it was that heartiness behind it that kind of spoke beyond your resistance?
Yes, actually, I think that's it. Heart. That's
Heart.
what it was actually, and that's the perfect explanation for it, because the confidence comes with that. But he believed there was a compassion behind it. There was a compassion behind it. You know, it was a heart and compassion behind it. He was delivering a message to improve someone's life. That's what he
Mhm.
was doing. He was saying the right thing at the right time to the right person, and that's what makes the difference. So, and it's hard to overcome that. Cynical as I was at the time, it was hard for me to combat somebody that spoke from their heart,
Yeah.
and that's what he was doing. No two ways about that.
Wow. What was his name? Do you know?
I don't know his name. I
So there
don't
could
know
be
his name.
like there could be a whole like blog podcast story about how you fly back to the UK and find him and hunt him down and then thank him. You know, that could be a
Yeah,
really interesting journey you go on if you wanted to. I don't know.
it could be. It could be. But I quite like the fact that I don't speak to him. I like, because it did
Because
cross my mind to reach out, because it wouldn't be difficult, right? I'm sure I could find a way to contact this guy. But I like the idea of not being in contact with this man, because there's something about sort of touching someone's life and making improving it, and then leaving and allowing them to develop and go in their own path and go on their own way. You don't necessarily need that recognition, perhaps.
no,
But
but I think it'd be really cool. But yeah,
yes.
no, I think no, maybe one day. I don't know. I think if I think about the people who've come in and out of my life, hearing you talk, I remember a guy called Adam, funny enough. And when I was in America years ago, I used to do like the camp thing. And
Mm,
he was one of the first people I met who was going around doing talks about HIV. He had HIV. And I just remember is interesting because I was like head of the drama department, right? This is when I
yeah.
was like 17, 18. And
Hmm.
I woke up late and no one was around and they're all in the theater. And I was like, why is everyone in the theater? That's my theater. I didn't know about this. Anyways, giving this talk and I come towards the end and all you see is all the kids queuing up, crying, wanting to hug him. And it's very
Hmm.
beautiful. And I kind of just tapped him on the shoulder and said, look, I didn't hear a lot of what you had to say. Can can
Hmm.
can we take a walk and you can tell me more about it? And it's like, sure. And I just remember him telling me kind of a little bit of his story and how he got to where he got and his concern and everything like that. And I
Hmm.
just remember he sat there. It's quite weird because he sat there and then he kind of went, Elliot, who do you want to be? And
Hmm.
I was like, what? So Elliot, who do you want to be? I was like 18, 19. I kind of like long hair, I was a rocker, kind of
Yeah.
well approach. But here I am in a camp working with people in America. It's like,
Hmm.
and it was really interesting because I went, I don't know how to answer that. And he literally, I'm not joking, slapped me across the face. And went, stop
Oh
wasting
wow.
my time. And I was like, what? And he goes, stop wasting my time. You heard my story. I'm dying. I've got a clock over my head. If you're not willing to stand for something, another he is very American, like, be a man,
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
I don't want to know and I don't want to spend another second to it. Who do you want to be? And I was like, I really don't know the answer. And
Mm-hmm.
he went, let me tell you about something. He said, you know what? Make me one promise. I was like, what's that? He goes, do not take your dream to the grave. And
Mm-hmm.
if you never see me again, never take your dream to the grave because the graveyard is the wealthiest place on this planet. Now I've got a clock ticking over my head and I'm heading there. You don't. You can be something. So if I've slapped you around the face to wake you up and give you like get to grips, make every moment count, then I don't care that it hurt and it's stinging, but you make me one promise right here. Do not take your dream to the grave. And
Mm.
I never saw Adam again. It's like he came, he left. We never stayed. It's the days before social media. It was the days before,
Yeah.
email. Is like Michael Jordan was still famous for being
Yeah.
great at basketball, not for social media. So it's quite
Mm-hmm.
interesting how people can have that profound effect, like you. That's always stuck with me. That story and his request, and of course his violent misdemeanor also kind of left a mark because it was so out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so it's quite interesting. So right now, Adam, where do you feel you're using your voice for good right now? How do you use your voice for good? since then?
Oh, since then, I've been reaching out to many people. So at the moment, I'm speaking to a lot of people who've been suffering from this virus situation.
Yep.
A lot of people suffering from depression and stresses. Isolation is a massive problem at the moment. So I'm helping a lot of people going through that at the moment. So I'm delivering talks and doing courses for people in those situations at the moment. I'm reaching a lot of people. I'm very busy at the moment with this situation. But it's turning people's lives around to the point where when they are by themselves, actually it's the perfect time to go in and actually explore themselves from within.
Yeah.
Within themselves, they're finding a much friendlier and happier place to be. And they find that actually when they come out into the world, they feel a lot happier and more productive within themselves. We all have the ability. We all have the ability to change our own lives. We just need to know how to access it.
True. I agree with you.
That's it. We just need to know how to do that. I find your story particularly interesting, though, Elliot. You
Okay.
literally faced mortality, didn't you? That's physical
Yeah.
embodiment of mortality right in front of your
Literally,
eyes.
someone who was dying was talking to me. Yeah. It's interesting. I
Absolutely.
never thought of it that way. Deep, deep. Interesting. So how can
Yes.
people find out more about you, Adam? If they want to connect with you, they want to find out more, where do they go? Do they need to go to a cafe in Southwark and order a coffee? Like, how do people connect
I
with
won't be
you?
there. I
Oh,
won't
that's
be
true.
there.
You're in Australia.
Yeah,
So they need
I'm
to
in
go to a
Sydney.
place in Sydney and order a coffee, and Adam will show up.
I'll be there. I'll be there looking dejected. Yeah, no, they can reach me on LinkedIn, Adam Baldwin, Adam Baldwin Meditation on LinkedIn. They can also get me on Baldwin Wellness, the website. They can connect with me, chat to me, and I can make their lives a lot better, cut stress out of their lives, and give them the simplest, most effective form of meditation available. You know, don't suffer in silence. You know, look to improve your lives all the time.
Brilliant. I think that's a lovely way to end this podcast. So to all the listeners, and of course to you, Adam, thank you so much for sharing your insight, your knowledge. Please reach out to Adam. I love what he said. Don't suffer in silence. Never underestimate the power of a conversation and just reaching out and having that talk. If someone's sitting there looking moody, grouchy with a coffee, you could be that person to turn their life around. So this has been another episode of Voice for Good. And remember, always be seen, be heard, and use your voice for good. And I will see you on the next. Well, I won't really see you. You'll hear me on the next podcast. Have an amazing time. Till the next time. See you later. Bye.